wakes up to the sight of a damp, mold-covered ceiling, bracing for another day where death is the only certainty. He's trapped in a forest that seems to actively resist his escape, a place where the trees themselves feel like prison bars. His life is a series of grim necessities. He occupies a sprawling hut with 12 empty rooms and survives on a small patch of vegetables. Most of what he grows is black, toxic, and useless, yet he continues to plant, hoping for the 1% that might keep him alive. But the real terror begins at night. On the Amavasya, the night of the new moon, the forest's most vicious entities emerge. Witches shriek from the canopy, while restless corpses and shifting shadows attempt to breach the walls of his hut. When we experience a story through the eyes of a single survivor, our skepticism often goes quiet. Because we are seeing through his eyes, his perspective bypasses our usual critical filters and connects straight to our instincts for empathy. This connection is strengthened by the external threats. When the forest is full of monsters and darkness, our focus shifts entirely to the dangers outside. We become so preoccupied with his survival that we stop looking at the survivor himself. In a first-person horror story, the greatest risk isn't the monster in the woods, it's the person leading us through them. To understand how this trust is built, we have to look at the specific ways the narrator presents his struggle. He consistently highlights his own fragility. We see him weeping in despair and witness his desperate attempts to distract the shadows, like when he crafts decoys from mud and his own clothes. We watch those decoys get torn apart, and we feel a sense of relief that he wasn't the one on that bed. The dynamic changes when a stranger arrives, a father frantic and searching for his missing daughter, Anita. The narrator's initial refusal to help, followed by his decision to risk his own life for the man's search, makes his character feel earned. By choosing to protect someone more vulnerable than himself, he positions himself as the story's moral center. He becomes a mentor, sharing his maps and notes. He leads the father through the woods, acting as a seasoned expert who has already survived the horrors the father is only now discovering. By combining these moments of emotional breakdown with acts of selfless protection, the story removes any reason to question where this man came from or why he is the only one who has managed to stay alive. The two men leave the hut, moving into the forest under the cover of night. The stakes shift from simple fortification to an active mission where one wrong step could end the quest. Immediately, they are bombarded with the forest's complex internal logic. They encounter white-clad spirits who speak in fragments about redwood trees and toxic mushrooms, forcing the men and the audience to start solving puzzles. They navigate a landscape with its own physical rules, crossing lakes where hands reach up from the water and tracking the movement of a specific mist that only appears when the sun is down. This diagram illustrates what happens when a story overloads the brain with world-building. When we are busy tracking spirit riddles and environmental hazards, the mental energy we have left to scrutinize the protagonist's behavior disappears. The terrifying ecology of the woods is more than just atmosphere. It's an exhaustion tactic. It keeps us so busy surviving the setting that we fail to notice the predator standing right next to us. At the edge of the escape mist, the quest hits its breaking point. A 10-foot-tall demon, the same monster that has been hunting travelers throughout the forest, lunges from the fog to kill them both. But the helpless narrator doesn't flinch. In a sudden burst of violence, he tears the massive demon apart with his bare hands, crushing its skull and consuming the remains in front of the terrified father. The mask is gone. The narrator sheds his human form, standing before the man as a creature of fire and shadow, the true master. He explains the law of this forest. As its ultimate inhabitant, he cannot claim his prey until he has earned their absolute, unconditional trust. Every moment of weakness, every tear shed over the black vegetables, and every act of mercy toward the father was a tactical necessity. The demon didn't save the father from the forest. He was just ripening the harvest. Then he looks directly at us. He points out that he spent the entire story earning our trust, too. He made us believe he was a victim so we would follow him to the end. And now the hunt begins. The most dangerous monsters don't hunt us with claws and teeth. They use our own empathy to convince us to open the door.